I'm Paul Greenberg.
And I'm Kenny Lauer. Welcome to EWPK.
Well, that was always a totally bracing intro, right? Though Natalie, who you might have gotten acquainted with as the band leader of Jane Blonde and the Goldfingers in the pilot episode we did a couple of months ago, can't be here today. But that's primarily because she is out there working hard and we're putting together the
creating.
Yeah, that's right. She's being a creator. It's part of the creator economy.
Yes.
So she was putting together with her and Jane Blonde and the Goldfingers, which is the Elements.cloud, a Salesforce partner band, this insane, wonderful mashup of Stayin Alive and The Wall. Look, I'd love to be able to explain it to you, but this is one you literally have to hear and see to believe. So let's just go straight to it. And this is Jane Blonde in the Goldfingers in the mashup of Stayin Alive and The Wall.
Shaking and we're staying alive, staying alive. Ha, 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 staying alive, staying alive. Ha, 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 staying alive. Oh, we don't need no education.
Again.
We don't need no education.
If you don't eat your meat, you can't have any pudding.
We don't need no thought control.
How can you have any pudding if you don't eat your meat?
The dark sarcasm in the classroom.
You, yes, you are it.
Those kids alone.
You behind the bike sheds, stand still like it.
Hey, teacher, leave those kids alone. All the
Okay, everyone, welcome to What's Up. This is always the first segment of the show where Kenny and I get to talk about stuff, and actually, starting from this episode, this is a monumental reveal here. We are going to be drinking an alcoholic beverage of our choice and telling you all about it. So, Kenny, what you drinking?
We're going to be drinking throughout the show. I'm super excited about what I'm drinking. So I'm drinking a whiskey called Blackened, and this I especially like because of some of our guests toward the later episodes in the entertainment space. This is actually Metallica's whiskey, Paul.
Whoa.
They teamed up. It's actually quite fascinating. Just real quickly, but this Metallica's. This is the name of, I think, one of their albums or one of their songs. This happens to be a signed bottle by Dave Pickerel, who is the chief distiller for this. You can see I'm almost done with this. I can get more.
He's actually a famous distiller.
He is.
And his father, I think, was like this Hall of Fame type.
Yeah, his father was really famous. He actually, sadly, passed away at a whiskey festival in San Francisco right when they had launched this. But they found another distiller. But I met him, and he did a phenomenal job. But the beauty about this is that, let me just read. It says, "Born in cask, forged by sound." And you see these sound waves here?
Yeah.
They created a more sophisticated distilling process by using sound waves coming from their music attached to the cask. Yeah, and from a marketing perspective, they marketed the whiskey with the sound playlist of the songs that were used to enhance and potentially speed up. I happen to be working with a company called Meyer Sound who helped them do this, but the whiskey itself, phenomenal. So that's what I'm going to be drinking.
I'm just like imagining the tasting notes for something like that. It would be like taste something like has caramel notes, a little bit A minor, a little bit C major, right? I mean, new form of tasting notes. Well, in the interest of odd experiments and fascinating ones, I am drinking this. Now, this is Jefferson Ocean, which has become almost a brand unto itself. And this in particular is a single barrel. It's called the wheated, what's the number? Voyage 29. Right now, wheated bourbons are slightly, given all bourbons have to have 51% corn, wheated bourbons, oddly, have more wheat than other ones do, right? Oddly. And this one comes from a long time, slightly sketchy experiment to me. I mean, they decided to, Jefferson, which is one of my favorite bourbon distilleries, they have some of the best bourbons I've ever had, decided to take barrels, put them on boats, steer the boats around the ocean for a while the barrels aged and the whiskeys aged on the boats. And it became then, at the time, a small batch bourbon called Jefferson Ocean. And it was wildly popular. The life of me, I can't imagine what putting a bourbon barrel on a boat is going to do other than add salt, right? I can't figure out what in the world it does that would change anything. However, the label stuck, right?
Well, what about the movement?
Well,
of the
maybe. I mean, Baron
use sound to activate the liquid inside. Who knows? Maybe.
I don't know. Honestly, I do know this though. It's very popular, and this particular one, which is, again, wheated bourbons tend to be slightly sweeter than even regular bourbons are. This one is really, really very good. It's got that extra little sweetness, and the interesting thing is, even though one way or the other, you're tasting corn in bourbon, and you're tasting corn sweetness for the most part. This one, you can pick up a little of the whiskey, barley, well, not so much barley, but whiskey sweetness. Wheat version of sweetness in it. And I am not a big one. I mean, this one, I guess the tasting notes would read, a bit of the wheat
Seasick.
style, Swedishness and the salt air, right? So,
Yeah.
anyway, that is the bourbon I am drinking. And to all of you out there, and to you, sir,
Oh yeah, should we toast? Here, let's toast.
yes, let us toast our drink. Let's see if we can.
Yeah, right here.
Oh, look at that.
Yeah, there we go. Oh. Is that an expensive? I originally thought that was going to be. You were going to tell me that was Jefferson Starships.
I wish that would have been
That
a
was-
more interesting story.
Great story. Yeah, but that's an
This is the
expensive. Kind of expensive.
No, I don't think so. I mean, I actually got it as a gift, but I'm guessing it runs $70, maybe 75. I'll tell you before the segment's out, I'll look up the price.
Yeah, I'll look up mine
And-
too. But mine. This one you I think can get at Costco. So that's the difference between my alcohol and Paul's. So
No. Yeah, mine you can get at Target.
okay. All right, that's great.
Or no, excuse me, the exclusive Target, Target.
Oh yeah,
Right.
Target.
Target.
Yeah.
Okay, this one runs about $80.
$80? Okay.
Yeah. Give or take. I see it from 70 to 99. 80, 79, 99 seems to be an area that they hang out in.
I will look and see, but I think mine is no more than that for sure.
Okay.
Yeah, see, mine looks like it's somewhere between 40 and 60.
Okay.
So really
Very-
manageable. Yeah, and really wonderful. Just the way it coats your tongue and the way it feels is just really incredible. Plus, if you like Metallica,
Yeah, I do.
Yeah, you just boom. I went to a Metallica concert. That was actually Chase Center in San Francisco. That was Metallica teamed up with the San Francisco Symphony for one of their first opening nights when they opened the arena.
I usually see them at Salesforce analyst summits.
Yeah.
I actually did see them
Right,
show
of
up.
course.
I saw them at an analyst summit right before COVID. They came in and they played for the analysts in the room in the beginning of the summit.
Did they really?
Yeah.
Wow, you private. Doesn't one of the Metallica guys lives next to Mark in Hawaii or something?
Yeah, they're
right?
like best buds.
Yeah,
They're really
yeah.
they're good friends
Yeah.
and Salesforce users.
I actually got to meet and Salesforce users.
Mhm.
Good. I actually met them. I was doing some work with a phenomenal sound company called Meyer Sound in Berkeley, and Metallica tours with all their sound equipment. So they have a very close relationship. They're just right up here in the Bay Area. Their headquarters are up in like San Ramon, and it's incredible. In fact, it was funny because I would go into their headquarters, and you have these images of what would the headquarters of Metallica look like? Like you just imagine, certainly coming from an experience point of view, you're like, this is going to be unbelievable. Like you're going to be walking through history and whatever. And it doesn't really look like that at all. It just looks like a headquarters where, there's a couple items on the wall. I felt that same way when I went to Marvel headquarters. You would think
Really?
you'd have Marvel characters flying off. You imagine, right? And it really is not like that at all. So,
Yeah, in a much more B2B-ish fashion, when Brent and I were at Salesforce's Dreamforce, we got a private tour of Salesforce Plus, which is literally the media company that they created inside of Salesforce to broadcast all over the world. In fact, these guys have grown so fast. In 1 year, they were nominated for a couple of Emmys, and
Really?
they just launched a show jointly with CNBC last. It was I don't remember what Saturday it was, but a Saturday or two ago. They just launched a show jointly with CNBC called The Shift. I mean, so you'd think, whoa, incredible studio, hundreds of people walking around. So we walked into the studio. There's one floor, which is a huge, big room with lots of green screens. It was completely empty other than equipment kind of sitting around and very advanced equipment. But the actual studio we're doing 90% of broadcasting is not, let's put it this way. The back part of the studio is not a whole lot bigger than my studio right here. And then they have a studio with kind of this big rotating LED screen wall and some desks in front of it, and that's it. But I will tell you, the equipment's relatively old, but the magic those guys are producing out of here is like amazing. But I was envisioning this big, modern, bustling thing, and there were probably in the building there were probably 7 people or 8 people at the studio at that time, and they were just shutting down another show. But you should see what they do with what they have is miracle work. So it's like, I guess that is something, where
like
you have these images of things that don't turn out to be what you thought, but it's still super cool.
Incredible. Yeah. I mean, I guess I'm always like the Disneyland. Like I love this lore about a Disneyland that Walt Disney, even when the park was closed, he wouldn't allow a modern like truck go into Frontierland because he wanted to keep that, that experiential realm, relevant and alive to even the employees. So you build up like what it's like, and then you walk in and you're like this. But they do amazing things. So Salesforce Plus, kind of like a Disney Plus, like all the different pluses out there. They're producing
Not
their own
exactly. I mean, it started in July of last year of 2021. And at the time, it was the content. The idea of the content was the Salesforce ecosystem content, and it's still a sort of that. I mean, ultimately, a lot of the subject matter could be customers that are Salesforce customers, even though it's not about Salesforce; it's just about the company.
Right.
But they have now they've evolved. If you go to the website of Salesforce Plus and just Google it, and it'll take you to it, you'll see it kind of looks like a Netflix setup or a Discovery Channel setup with different shows. And one show is called the Ecopreneurs, and it's about environmentally responsible entrepreneurs, and that's one of the ones that's up for more than one Emmy, for example. But they have a number of shows, and they've evolved a great deal. They, initially when you'd watch it, you'd see, wow, that's sloppy. Brent and I wouldn't even do that, right?
Yeah.
And believe me, we've done most everything wrong at some point, right? Yeah. So, but now they've kind of ironed out a ton of the issues. They have moved lightning fast in terms of their evolution and growth. In fact, if you want to get some details, we on CRM Plays on, let's see, today is the 26th. On I think it's the 15th, whatever that week of Thursday is that week, we had Colin Fleming, who runs Salesforce Plus, on to give us kind of an update on where they are and heading into Dreamforce. And they broadcast the entirety of Dreamforce, right? So that the first year, they just broadcast the keynote. This year, every track, every event, every single thing was broadcast by them. Not every single thing, but all the things, everything broadcast was broadcast by them. But it's, again, small studio, amazing equipment, some of it pretty ancient, but the magic they produce from it is just off the charts. And Brent and I will be putting up some clips of an interview we did on an iPhone camera with the guy who runs the studio, the guy who specifically runs the studio, the manager of the studio. You know what? I know we had other things to talk about, but we're literally out of time. So
I know. Well, I just wanted to say, speaking of things that could go wrong, I had the honor of producing one of the CRM plays last week, I think. And that was fun, phenomenal.
Well, you know what? I just started reviewing your footage. You're really good with those change of camera things going on. You really were cool. It really worked. I mean, I don't even have the ability to hit. I can hit another button here, but the other image of me looks washed out, so I'm not going to bother. Right? Yeah, I hear everybody. This is what I mean by washed out. I'm still working on it. Okay, I just want you to know. See what I mean? Washed out and almost the same, right? So I'm working on it. That's a more cinematic camera, so I have to change some things. But
yeah,
but
okay.
You know what?
Well, yeah, I think that's great, Paul. We got a great show ahead. Really phenomenal show.
Yeah. You know what? We could tell you who it is, but why kill you with suspense? So
Yeah.
if you manage to live to the second segment through that fact, we're trying to kill you with suspense. You will be very excited by what we're seeing. But Kenny and I, once again, we're always, the interesting thing is we do each segment in a separate studio. It looks exactly like this one,
I know we
right? In each case. So we got a ways to go. So we'll see you after the introduction to segment 2, otherwise known as Who's Up. See you soon.
See you soon.
Hey everyone, welcome to Who's Up. This is where Kenny and I actually get a chance to talk with business leaders. They could be young, they could be old, they can be from enterprises, they can be from small companies, they can be in the B2B world, they could be in the B2C world. It doesn't matter. The good news is we actually get to talk to them. Now, today we have a unique segment because what we're going to do is talk to one B2B business leader from a relatively young but really important and growing company on the B2B side, and one B2C business leader, well, I'll just say likewise when it comes to what I just said about B2B.
Yeah.
So without a whole lot of further ado, let's get down to the B2B business leader. And this man happens to be a friend of mine. This is Krishna Raja, who is the founder and CEO of Supportlogic. And I have to tell you, he's not only the founder and CEO, but he's a hell of a nice guy. He's a dynamic business leader. And you know what? He's got a T-shirt that we definitely need to talk about. So welcome, Krishna. How you doing, man?
Doing very well, Paul. I'm well. How about you guys?
It's doing great. Thank you for coming on.
So actually, where are you before we go any further here?
I'm in my office.
But where is your office now?
Our office is in Santana Row. I don't know if you know Santana Row in San Jose.
No, actually, I don't, because I've only been to San Jose 3 times.
Yeah, it's like I call Santana Row the Las Vegas Strip of Silicon Valley.
I'm not sure that's good these days when it comes to what people say about Silicon Valley, so you got to be careful. So listen, I obviously have known you guys for a little while now, and I have been fascinated by Supportlogic and what you do. And why don't you tell people a little bit about it, and I'll jump in because I have some specific things that I think are just amazing. So, and then we'll get into the origin story.
You want me to talk about Supportlogic a little bit?
Yeah, just a little bit, yeah.
So Supportlogic is a company that I founded in 2016, 6 years ago. And the company basically is focused on transforming how people are managing support experience. And today, if you look at market, people are focused on customer experience, people are focused on employee experience. There is a big gap in between, which we call as support experience. Support experience is today's world is your brand experience for many companies. And the only tool that we have today for managing support experience is to send surveys. and that's it. That's about it. There is really nothing there that exists that allows you to proactively manage support experience. So that's the space we are in. So we built a platform that allows any company of any size to manage and deliver great support experience to their customers.
So one of the things that fascinated me about Supportlogic was your actual ability to sort of interpret real-time sentiment, really, and then do something about it, actually take action at the same time. Can you get into that a little bit? Because I love that part of what you do. That's the part that, like, if I'm looking for sex appeal, there it is.
Well, and from an experience point of view, if you're an experienced guy like I am, that's like the secret sauce there, being able to do that. So yeah, I'd love to hear more about that.
Yeah, it's actually quite interesting. When I actually come from support background, right? So I always assume that every customer you're going to talk to is going to be upset. So what's the point in doing sentiment analysis on customer communications? In fact, when I started the company, I didn't even think that sentiment analysis is going to be useful. It's almost an accident that we discovered that sentiment analysis is extremely useful for support organization. And this is despite me coming from the support background. I assumed it's not useful. So the interesting part is that support conversations that you're having with customers, a lot of them are just benign conversations. You're really not just going back and forth, exchanging information, so on and so forth. And the sentiments sometimes are very subtle in customers' language. And sometimes it's not. Sometimes you see profanity and all that. But many times it's very subtle, especially in a B2B context, right? And the subtleties accumulate with time within a conversational stream of a given support issue you're dealing with. But then you aggregate this across multiple conversations you had with these customers during the lifetime of your company. Then you start to notice some very interesting trends and patterns. So that's what we focus. So when we started, we thought, okay, maybe we can do negative sentiments and positive sentiments and call it a day. Then we realized there's flavors of negative sentiments and flavors of positive sentiments you can extract. Things like why the customer negative experience. Is it confusion? Is it frustration? Is it impatience? Is it that you're not making meaningful progress? There's so many different attributes that causes customer frustration. So we started going into that and we started extracting that. Then it becomes very actionable when you start doing flavors of sentiment. So that's kind of the genesis behind the sentiment analysis piece, which is one component of what we do in support experience management.
Did you said it was almost an accident? Did like someone trip over an emotion or something? I mean, what actually, what happened?
So this is the founding story, right? Like when we are, this is when the company was size of two employees, me and my first engineer, Charles. So we were just looking at a customer data set. We were trying to solve a completely different problem. And as we were reading through a lot of the support cases, we noticed a lot of support cases had very interesting sentiment. And customers are really furious with the product. So we were saying, hey, look, Charles, look at this customer, so unhappy. This is so interesting to see. So read these comments, right? And then we started brainstorming and saying, what if we start to highlight those sentiment fragments? Because we had access to the customer data, right? So we started highlighting it and just like a pencil marker, right? And show it to people. So we kind of mocked up something in the user interface and we showed it to folks, and people's mind were blown. Wow, this is amazing. You guys can automatically detect this. Then I realized that as a support engineer, you are in conversation with customer, you know all the negative sentiments you're dealing with. But as a company, they don't know what all things are happening with your customers, especially at scale. So highlighting those negative sentiments and negative conversations you're having with your customers is extremely insightful for people inside the company who are not dealing with customers on a day-out basis. So yeah, so that's the accidental part. Like we stumbled on.
Is it mostly like when you were looking at this sort of data, was it typically through asynchronous? Like the data was mostly asynchronous, written communication, or did you look at transcripts coming from live telephone conversations, or was there video? I used to at the Warriors, we did some things where we mapped video gestures. I mean, like we mapped gestures. I think Apple bought the company eventually, and tried to determine sentiment as to whether someone was enjoying the game or doing that. I'm curious kind of where you guys kind of looked at to determine overall sentiment.
Yeah, it's a great question. We took a conscious effort to focus on sentiment in text data. And there was a couple of business reasons for it. I looked at the Zendesk when they went IPO. I looked at their S1 filing, and one of the things Zendesk claims is that millennials don't want to communicate via phone, right? They just want to do everything in text and chat. So they were projecting the text communication is going to outpace everything else, right? And also the second bet for us was voice to text is going to become a commodity, it has already become a commodity. And the quality of voice to text is going to just improve with time with the advancements in deep neural networks. So we took a conscious approach. Let's do all sentiment extraction, signal extraction, we call it, from the text data. The thing that you're talking about video is kind of very interesting. The philosophy I've always had is that in the computing industry, we've only focused on machine data and metadata in the last, I would say, 30 years of our computing industry. We completely ignored unstructured data, right? Processing text, processing audios. And I think that's just happening right now. And there's a huge amount of opportunities in extracting so many different signals from unstructured data.
Yep. That's phenomenal, and just brilliant to look at Zendesk S1. Like,
I did a lot of research before starting the company. Yeah. That was one of them. Yeah.
Wonderful.
So, I mean, you're obviously ridiculously smart. Okay, so what kind of kid were you? I'm just really curious. I mean, plus I'm sort of taking into account. Can you show people your T-shirt for a minute? Would you mind doing that? You might want to just could. All right, thank you. So given that, and given how smart you are, what kind of kid were you?
Definitely a troublesome kid. My mom used to tell me that when they used to have parents-teacher meeting, every teacher would complain about me. Not because I was like the troublesome kid and didn't do homework, anything like that. Because I always was asking very difficult questions, and the parents, my teachers told my parents that he's asking too many questions and too many difficult questions and disrupts the flow of the class.
We can't answer them.
We can't answer them.
So
that's
amazing.
So I always had a curious mind since my childhood.
What would be a difficult question for a kid to ask? I mean, right now, you ask me a question about anything you're doing, it would be difficult for me to answer it, right? Because you know it, I love it. I can see its applications, I can see its uses, but you ask me anything going on behind the scenes, I don't have a clue, right? That said, when you're 10 years old, that's not the questions you're going to be asking,
right?
The kind of questions that would throw me. So what would you be asking a teacher that the teacher felt was too difficult for them to answer?
Oh my God. Let me give you two examples. So one was, this was not my teacher, this was my mom. My mom used to, this is like, I was a really small kid, like I'm probably 4 years old or 3 years old. My mom would carry me and would show me the moon on the terrace, and she would feed me rice, right? So it's the food I used to eat when I was young. And I would ask her, Mom, why moon is round and not square? And actually, it's fascinating. Like it took me a while for me, like as a grown up, I understood why every object in the space is spherical, why everything is spherical, and the gravity and all that. The concepts came to me much later, but the curiosity was there. Similarly, the other question I asked during my biology class, and I was very fascinated in biology, was not at all into computers, actually, when I was growing up. During the biology class, I was asking my teacher, why, so they were teaching about reproduction and how cell division happens and all that, right? So I said, hey, you have a cell, and life grows from it. The cell multiplies and becomes a baby eventually. Why don't the cells go independently live like amoebas? Why they need to become a unified organism?
Oh my God.
So that was a question.
Right, Krishna, we get it.
God almighty. I don't even think that well now. Much.
I was going to say
amazing.
So that got me interested in genetics and why complex organisms emerge from single cellular organisms and stuff like that. So
amazing.
Yeah, I'm a nerd. So sorry.
So, Krishna, I'm assuming that sort of curiosity and that depth of thinking has been incredibly valuable in your 6 years of moving this company from an idea to where it is now. Give me some examples of how that became like really important. And you're obviously leading the company. So help me understand how that kind of personality helps.
It's actually a blessing and a curse. When you think very deeply and you go into the rabbit hole of thinking, you're just in the thinking land, you're not in the execution land.
Yeah.
And also, it just becomes a thought exercise. And there's a lot of other things of leadership that doesn't require deep thinking. In fact, I would argue in many cases, leadership is all about simplified thinking, not deep thinking. You want to keep it extremely simple, simplify and dumb it down, all of that. For example, when you're raising money as an entrepreneur and you go pitch your ideas to VCs, VCs don't have much time and they don't have much attention span. So you cannot go and explain complex ideas to them. You really have to find a way to dumb it down. And so, yeah, so that's the other thing I've learned. So yeah, the deep thinking works in terms of problem solving in certain areas.
Yeah.
And then it backfires in certain areas because you're going so deep and people can't follow up. Because as a leader, you want to keep things very simple for the rest of your crew.
So where do you, I mean, like, where you, right now you're 6 years in,
Mm-hmm.
you're here now. 6 years from now, where are you?
6 years
Both
from
the
now,
company and, by the way, both the company and you. And also, where's that T-shirt in 6 years?
Yeah, I don't know what T-shirt I'll be wearing now. Hopefully, I'll be in Hawaii, retired and drinking something fancy. I think 6 years from now, we really think we have an opportunity to ring the bell. And we really think, I mean, we still have a long way to go. But if you look at any companies, right, when the companies go public, it's usually around the 11th or 12th year. The first 5 years, it seems like a very slow progress. And then something hits and the company goes, it's a big trajectory. So I think that's the aspiration, that's what we are going after 6 years from now.
That is fantastic. How big is the company now? Just out of curiosity, how many people you have?
We're fairly small by many company standards. We are around 150 employees.
Yeah. Well, it's a long way from what you said back when there was 2. So that's quite impressive. I mean, even just that even that kind of growth, Krishna, is a whole different kind of how do you scale from 2 to 100 plus, right? That's where your leadership comes in, getting the right people. It's just phenomenal.
Yeah, a lot of leadership is learning and unlearning at the same time, which is another dichotomy of leadership. Things that you learned, you have to unlearn in every stage, and you have to learn new things in every stage.
Do you ever find it hard to give up something that you really don't want to give up, but what you've just learned kind of says, well, to get anywhere, you kind of have to? Do you find that difficult?
I don't think it was difficult. I think this is the balancing act of that the phrase always I use is tender love and care, TLC. As a founder, you have to, and then when you're building a product or you're building a culture, when you're building a brand, the tender love and care is extremely important. And tender love care comes with a lot of attention to details. So, and then you have to figure out when to give too much attention to detail in certain aspects and when to pull back in certain areas, right? The whole thing about entrepreneurship and leadership, for me, it's all about dichotomy. There's so many dichotomies, and I can just go on and on about all the different dichotomies you have to deal with.
All right. So one last thing. Okay. So I'm not going to ask you about your football rooting interest. Brent and I already got you on that one, on the players, the one time we were on. All right. So now this is you. Okay. What if do you have, I guess the best way to put this, do you have a one favorite hobby or something you just like doing in the off hours? And by the way, you could tell me it's anything from, drinking yourself silly to playing tennis. It doesn't really matter, whatever it is. What is it? The one now, even if you have 3 or 4, the one true love hobby. What is it?
Oh, good
I'm not
question.
sure if it's true love hobby. Hobby
Yeah.
sometimes is seasonal. They change. So my last few years, my hobby has been into audiophile equipments. So I'm into headphones, very expensive headphones, amplifiers, and DACs, and so on and so forth. Yeah, let me show you something if I can. This is one of the headphones I have.
Holy
Um,
God. Those are like $4,000.
these are $4,000. You're right.
Yeah, I know them.
You know your audiophile gear. Yeah.
No, I
Yeah,
know.
so I'm into that. So
What is it about that, Krishna? I'm just curious. What is it about that?
So in any audiophile stuff, right, it's all about there's always a bottleneck in your system that doesn't allow you to listen the audio to its maximum potential. Whether it's the way the power supply works, where the amplification works, how the digital signals are converted into analog signals, and how the speaker works on your headphones, so much stuff. And there's all this engineering components and the performance bottlenecks that you have in your chain. It's very, very fascinating for me to understand and do it, because I find that to be applicable to real life too, in many things in real life. Even when you're running a company, there are performance bottlenecks in many, many places. You're systematically going and removing performance bottlenecks one layer at a time. So that's the part. And also the other silly part is, hey, we're all getting old. I don't know how good my hearing is going to be.
I can literally attest to that. So I'll tell you what, there's a part of PPN network. There's shortly in the late fall, we're going to start a gear pop-up show, like a pop-up show on gear. So be prepared to come on to talk headphones.
Oh yeah.
Oh, I'd love to talk about it.
Oh yeah,
maybe
you
I
count
will
on
always
it, man.
I fantasize if after an exit I will start a YouTube channel and start reviewing all these gears.
Yeah. Listen, well, we can give you your start.
Yeah.
All right. Well, thanks a million, Krishna. I know I'll be seeing you soon, and I know Kenny will too. So you're as I told you from the day I met, you're an awesome human being, and Supportlogic is going somewhere. We really appreciate it. You're a great guy.
Wonderful. So great to see you, Krishna.
Thanks,
Take care,
Paul,
my
Kenny.
friend.
Thank you.
Yeah.
Bye-bye.
All right. That's he's such I love that guy. I just do.
Incredible guy and so humble. Like,
yeah,
what he's doing will change the experience of support. There's no question.
And still pretty much rocking the best t-shirt I've seen so far this year, I think.
Yeah, let's keep track of who rocks the best t-shirt. That's pretty good.
I mean, I can't say, look, it was a little corny, because it is, but that whole expression and the real expression is super terrible. But the t-shirt was pretty awesome. And I'll tell you, I put my, so to speak, okay, I'm not a financial advisor here. I put my money on Supportlogic, right? What they're doing is pretty remarkable. That sentiment analysis piece,
that's
incredible. It's incredible. And watch it. If you get a chance, go and look at the demo for those of you at supportlogic.com. Go and look at the demo and watch the actual sentiment analysis going on in real time. The way it's actually reflected, you'll actually literally see, based on the simpler side of sentiment analysis, you'll see the colors of the text changing according to the interpretation of the sentiment, and then the actions being taken by the customer service rep or whoever. It's really pretty cool.
I mean, that is cool. Like, Paul, I remember there were years at the Warriors where we wanted to see, we would do big things on the Jumbotron, like sponsors, and we do cameras to capture, hundreds of fans and sections and map their real-time face to try to get sentiment analysis from their facial gestures. And it was pretty powerful, because the ability to be, and then of course what Krishna is doing is the ability to actually get data from the sentiment analysis and then to take action on it, right? I think it's going to change things. There's a lot of nuance in sentiment analysis, and if you can get to the point where you can carve that out and then drive action upon it, fantastic. I wish him all the luck. I can't wait.
Well, I'll tell you what. I think it's time for B2C. Right. So I'm leaving
love
this one to you,
B2C.
bud.
Yeah, so I met this gentleman a little while ago. He fits perfectly into what we're talking about. Young company, young entrepreneur at heart, and is doing something fun. It happens to be in sports, which is something that I love, and it applies to a technology that all of us use, which is incredible. Let's go ahead and bring on Clay. Clay, come on.
Awesome. I'm excited to be here.
All
Hey,
right, Clay. Paul, obviously, I think you guys are meeting for the first time.
Yes, we are.
It's a pleasure to meet you, Paul.
Same. Heard good things from this guy about you. A lot of them, actually.
Green
A little scary.
Yeah, it's fantastic. I mean, what I love and what I want to get into after you just give a little bit around what your company does is a little bit around the origin story and some of the choices that you made and some of the just incredible partnerships that you were able to solidify. I think in ways that other companies would be in awe of. And of course, you're on the younger side of the age,
just a little bit.
So yeah, so that's right. Go ahead. Tell us a little bit about Screenskinz and what it is.
Definitely. So since we're on camera, I thought I would show it. Does that work for you guys?
Yeah.
Oh,
Let's
yeah.
do it.
Awesome.
So Screenskinz, we make branded screen protectors just like this. So you'll see the Florida Gator logo there, branded within the NFL, MLB, NBA.
Turn a little more directly. Yeah,
there
turn
we
a little
go.
more. Yeah, okay, there we go. Got
See
it.
that? Yep.
Yeah.
So it works just like that. It'll disappear when your phone turns on. Doesn't affect your display. So our saying is protect with passion, right? So we're all passionate about something, and being an avid, sports guy, it's football season. I'm a massive Florida Gator fan, so always repping my Gators when I can.
Do you have a Yankees? Do you have a Yankees one?
We do. So our MLB are in production right now. Actually, we've been working tirelessly on our MLB.
Diehard
Yankee.
Relatively diehard New York Giants.
Okay. Well, hey, Pujols hit his 700.
I saw it.
700. It was really cool. It was really cool to watch that last night.
I'm watching Aaron Judge right now, so I'm staying focused.
You might have to get a Rams one.
For Brent.
Yeah.
The Rams, they're so picky about their artwork. Let me tell you. Oh gosh, we've gone back and forth 100 times with them now.
Really?
I have a great respect for that, though. For me, coming from the Warriors, I'm very picky about that. Even though
I know.
Partners, it's a pain for So Clay, so how? First of all, I just want to know a little bit about how you made the decision to become an entrepreneur, and then kind of how you made the decision to do this, because I'm fascinated with even before you decided, or did that happen at the same time? And kind of where were you in your life when you made this sort of decision?
Kind of both. So I was always that hustler kid. So my grandfather was an entrepreneur. He owned several different stores way back in the day. So it kind of I saw it in the family, and I wasn't expected to become one, but more or less I was always around that environment. So anything to make money, right? That's the nature of the game. It was mow lawns, pressure wash, take trash, do whatever you got to do to make a couple bucks. And I remember as a kid, we'd be working in, he owned liquor stores. So we'd be working in the liquor stores, I'm 12 over here, putting bottles on the shelf, restocking inventory. So that was always fun. But this kind of happened. I learned about Amazon FBA when I was back in high school. And I was like, this sounds like, I could make some money doing this. So I decided to do it. And I started doing screen protectors. That was the start. Well, I'm pretty good with my hands when it comes to building, crafting things. I'll do pretty much anything. So the thought of putting a logo on a screen kind of came to mind, and I did it. It sucked. Don't get me wrong. It sucked. The first iteration was horrible, but there was a lot of potential.
Wait, you wrote the code for it?
There's no code. No.
What do you do? When you said you did it, what did you do?
Well, I put the logo on a screen. Like that was the iteration. So it's 100% tempered glass. Like it's fully
Oh,
glass. Like it's
Oh.
yeah.
You
Like
know,
see this?
It's
Just like
physically
that.
on the screen protector.
Yep. So it's
Wow.
literally on the screen protector.
That's
And
pretty cool.
yeah.
Smart.
So that's how I started it. And the licensing element came in a little later, but I was trying to make the decision at the time whether or not to go to college, and not go to college. I was going to college anyways. I'm pretty good at school. So like school isn't an issue for me, but I was deciding whether or not to go to like a 4-year university at the time. I decided not to, stayed home. I graduated high school pretty much with my AA degree. So, my bachelor's only 2 more years. But during that time, like I'm in college and I literally got my first official license with the University of South Florida in Central Florida, like when I was 18. So that's something pretty cool to me. Like at the time I was like, that's a pretty big deal. Instead of applying to go to the college, I'm over here applying to be licensed with the college.
Yeah. That's fascinating. So the
And
decision,
you didn't have to take the SATs either, right? So
Yeah, right.
yeah, that I would do anything to avoid those. The decision not to go to the 4-year and focus on this, that was a very deliberate decision, because you saw this opportunity with the license and
Pretty
that-
much. It would, I'm pretty, I wouldn't say smart, but I'm pretty smart with, money and like being fiscally responsible. I try to be at least. And then going to a 4-year university, I was like, if I'm going to pay like $80,000 just to get my bachelor's degree, like I'll
Yeah.
pass, like I can do a lot more. So literally just investing into the business, my time, like I was working at Publix, down here in the South at the time. And I quit my job to actually sell screens to Publix. So that's another fascinating thing. I got to their corporate ladder and I was like, yeah, like I want to sell you guys, Publix screens. They're like, oh, well, since you work for the company, it's a conflict of interest. I was like, oh, here's my 2 weeks, like I'll see y'all in a month.
God,
wow.
Yeah.
how old are you, Clay?
I'm 23 now. Just turned 23.
You
Okay.
literally could be my great grandson.
Paul. Paul, you know what's amazing, and this is what really. So this is all amazing, but share some of the partnerships that you have,
Cool.
and coming from sports, these are not insignificant. And I'd love to understand a little bit more of how you were able to make this happen.
So my business really took a turn. This is crazy. We can go long story, but I'll try and make it really, really short. So I drove 8 hours to a podcast event in Nashville, Tennessee. Okay. So I drove all the way from Florida, Nashville, Tennessee to go meet a guy. And the guy's name is Maurice Claret. And I don't know if y'all are familiar, but he's an Ohio State running back way back in the day.
Oh my God.
Yeah. Really cool guy. Yeah. You remember? Yeah. Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah, he's got a 30 for 30 if you want to watch that. But I met him. We connected really, really well. He came down, spoke to our dad's football team down here in Florida. And I kind of showed him what I had going on, what I was doing. And he's like, yo, like I might know someone that can help you out. Like, let me call him, see what we can do. And I was like, all right, like just building a relationship at that point. It wasn't like, oh, like transactional, like, hey, I need this from you. It was like, oh man, like that'd be really cool, really appreciate it. So he connected me to my co-founder now, Rashawn Brown, who started working in the Big East Conference after he graduated with his master's in sports administration. And he's now at Texas A&M. And he's super embedded in the collegiate community, the CLC. He knows them all. So we connected, and this was during COVID years. So this was 2020. Like everyone was at home. No one was really doing anything. And he's like, yo, he's like, let me talk to some people. And literally 2 weeks later, we got a meeting with Fanatics, right? It gets crazier. It's COVID time. So everyone was just sitting at home, they were like, I'll take a meeting. We have nothing to do.
Explain Fanatics to people who may not understand what Fanatics is.
Fanatics is the Amazon of the sports world. They are the sports powerhouse. If you work within the sports community, you're going to run across that name, Fanatics. Whether you know it or not, they probably own or control something around you. I guarantee it.
Yeah,
They certainly own every piece of merchandise out there. Holy
They are.
God.
Yeah,
they are. So we had a meeting with one of their buyers. His name is Lee Howard. Really cool guy. Played baseball at Florida State. And I was like, I literally just got Florida State's license. So I had Florida Screens. I was like, I'm going to shoot him one. So we shot him one. 2 days later, got a call. He's like, Fanatics wants this product. Like, what can we do to help you, get there? And at that point, that was pivotal for us. So they really connected us and like immersed us within the sports world to get all the licenses that we currently have. Rashawn and I, we kind of put together a really good board. He knows a lot of people in the sports world. So we brought on former VPs of, licensing for the NFL, Hasbro. She's at the Boston Globe now. And Jordan Morrell from Nike, David Heath from Nike, like all these VPs and stuff. And they really helped us like get in these doors, get in these rooms and get in conversations with, high profile people. But they also see like young entrepreneurs and they're like, we like those guys. Like we want to help them. It's kind of like giving back to them. It's like, they're really, really cool, and it's cool to be in some of those rooms because people look at me and they're like, you're like a kid. And I'm like, yeah, I know.
Yeah.
They should be in awe of you, actually. If
Right.
At the age of 23, for God's sake.
Yeah.
That's
Yeah.
amazing. So what kind is okay, so right now it sounds like you're primarily focused in college football, or college, I should say college sports, because the logos are pretty similar, whichever sport you're in, right? So are you looking to go pros? Are you looking to go multiple other sports? What's the future look like?
So we started this year with the top 10 NFL teams.
Okay.
So this is crazy. So we started with colleges, like that's how we started, and we curated a new partnership at the beginning of the year, and they're like, oh, we're going NFL. Like the NFL wants products, we got to go NFL. So our college inventory was kind of on the back burner at that moment, and we're like, all right, like let's go NFL. We launched NFL in January, 10 teams, and we did more revenue. This is crazy. I'll tell you guys this. More revenue with 10 NFL teams in 1 month, okay, than we've done pretty much the following 2 or 3 months, just in January. Like, it was absolutely insane. We tore it up with 10 NFL teams. So we just now, last month, relaunched all our NCAA. We relaunched the rest of the NFL last month, and now we're set to relaunch MLB. And NBA, we just did a partnership with a company called NBA Labs. I'm not sure if y'all are familiar with them, but they're super immersed in the NBA and helping companies, like kind of smaller companies gain that like mass distribution without having mass distribution dollars. They're really embedded in it.
You might want to get it. So, what do you think, Kenny? Seats coming back.
Oh yeah,
So, yeah.
I think-
So, I mean, the way Kenny and I met actually was there was this organization called SEAT, Sports Entertainment Alliance and Technology, right?
Okay.
And it was basically the buyers of tech for the most part, although it wasn't technologists always, it was marketing people, Kenny among others. It kind of covered a spectrum, but it was pro and college sports business side. So, for example, on the one hand, Kenny, right, who was running marketing on the Warriors. On the other hand, Steve Reese, who was the CIO of the Phoenix Suns, et cetera, et cetera, et cetera. So, during COVID,
and what it was unique because it was really one of the only gatherings that crossed over all sports.
Right.
That
And it wasn't focused on, college kids getting resumes out into like MIT Sloan was, right? Which is a lot. That's still a good conference, but it's very analytics focused and so on. This covered sports business, really. And it was very, very collegial and very friendly. And, both Kenny and I sat on the board of SEAT. And so they're coming back in 2023 with additional owners. So we can definitely make sure that you get an intro there, because that's like every sport, every league, every
across the board. Yeah,
pretty much. So
awesome.
because what you're doing I think is super impressive, really.
We appreciate it. We're working on the women's and men's soccer now, and over in Paris, we're about to acquire our first Paris license, which is going to be super interesting for us.
So on the women's soccer, women's pro league, which one?
Literally like the U.S. women's soccer.
Like
that their little
the actual
logo.
League, the actual league. That my brother was actually one of the founders of that league.
Really?
Yeah, Bobby. Yep. He left. As soon as the league was founded and done, there was also the head of Yahoo Sports at Yahoo, Tanya. I can't think of her last name now.
Oh,
The two of them worked together, traveled the country, recruited franchise owners, and as soon as it was set up and ready to go, my brother left because as far as he was concerned, he did what he promised his daughter Sarah he would do, right? And then and he's now doing his regular business now and doing very well. But he
That's
was
crazy.
actually one of the founders of that. Yeah, long time ago. Not a lot. It really wasn't that long ago, but it was a while. So
Yeah.
so what? Okay, so what's forget what you're doing.
Mhm.
So what do you do? What do you do when you're not doing that?
Mm.
This is a trick question for young entrepreneurs.
It is. Well, I watch football, so that's fun. So during sports season, I'm watching football. But I'm always working on new things, new ideas. That I'll be hopefully launching, within the next year to 2 years. I love the hustle, just creating stuff. Like that's who I am. I love doing it. So when I get an idea in my mind and it's an idea I want to chase, like I go after it, and I'll figure it out along the way. But that's kind of what I do,
That's exactly it.
Yeah.
I always call those the power ideas guys, like power users. You go in, you probably don't really know quite enough about what you're doing, but you're willing to you're willing to let it crash, right? You're okay with it crashing, and then you can fix it from there.
But that's where my co-founder and I work so well like that, like with ideas and stuff. Like I'm like, big picture, what are we doing? Where are we going? And he's like, all right, how are we going to get there? All the little execution steps, the details. And I'm like, man, like he's a detail guy. And I'm like, I'm not super detailed, but we work super well. Like that's just how we go back and forth all the time.
Perfect combination. You combine well and you gut check each other.
All the time.
Get it. Totally get it.
And I mean, the one thing that continues to just demonstrate itself in the success of companies, and I think it depends. A lot of it depends upon how the entrepreneur presents themselves. But when people step up to say, "Look, let me help you," right? Let me, I mean, Paul is the epitome of this. A mensch and always wanting to create and open up relationships to move your business forward. He's incredible in that. But there's key individuals in your small time here in doing this that stepped up to say, look, let me introduce you to someone, or let's bring someone in here, or let me open up a relationship. I think that goes back to a lot of, this kind of passion, you bring passion and you bring intelligence and whatever. And I think it does. I mean, obviously when you're at your age, I think people are amazed, Paul. I think they're like, wow, this is incredible. And they want to help. But even as you get older, you're going to be an entrepreneur, I would imagine, serial for a while. That's pretty phenomenal. And that seemed like it was pretty critical to get you where you are now.
No, it definitely was. I'll short story real quick, and then I know we got to wrap up. So we worked on the Disney license. So we locked down Disney, Marvel, and Star Wars.
Oh my God!
That's all.
That's all, huh? Oh boy! I thought you would have done that by when you were 22.
Yeah, right. But that came from one of our advisors. Like we had a phone call with him, and he's like, "Yeah, like I just had lunch with like one of the former VPs or VP over there," and I was like, "You didn't think to like mention us?" He's like, "Oh, I'll make a phone call for you guys." And then a month later, it's like the phone call happened, and the relationship aspect is so important. It's very underrated. Like people, you just got to build relationships with people. Try and not be transactional for sure.
Yep.
Well, I guess one last thing is, I mean, how do people like buy your stuff? Like, just a regular old consumer out there, how do they buy your stuff?
So right now we're mainly on Fanatics, NFL Shop, MLB Shop, NBA Shop, all those Fanatics stores. We are working on the relaunch of our site, and I'm actually looking on the background of my desktop right now. We've been redeveloping the entire thing, so it's been fun. Hopefully, what's today's date too? It's 24th. Hoping mid-October, we're officially relaunched on our site at screenskinz.com. You can find us on Instagram, TikTok, Twitter, Facebook. We're there.
Okay.
Oh, so,
Thank
so
you.
that's interesting. So you're selling direct to consumer as well as
Mhm.
through your partners.
Correct. So
Cool.
the first thing I learned from one of our advisors, he's like, leverage everyone else's channels first, and then we'll build ours.
Yeah.
Right? Because they
Sometimes-
already have an established network. Like we're saving a ton of time, a ton of money, and a lot of work to get off the ground.
Yeah. Yeah, that's absolutely right. Especially because people know Fanatics and they're still getting to know Screenskins, right? So leverage off that
Mhm.
that relationship that they've spent
Definitely.
years spending money on to build.
We're running our first email campaign with them next week,
Yeah.
and it goes. This is just NFL. I think it was going over to like 5 million people. Like
Yeah.
highly targeted. They know the teams. They know everyone. It's
It's a
insane.
good list. It's a good list.
That's pretty
Yeah.
striking when you can put the word 5 million and highly targeted in the same sentence.
Yeah. Oh yeah. Oh yeah.
Yeah.
They know.
Especially when you're talking to the godfather of CRM here. So which is Paul. Well, it's fantastic. Clay, I
Yep.
can't thank you enough for spending a little bit of time with us and sharing. It's been wonderful to have you on. And
appreciate
we
it.
just wish you continued success. And we will
Yeah, not kidding.
we will look for your product and we'll get
And
Brent one of those
hopefully,
grants when that's done.
if Kenny and I do our job right, we'll see you at Seat 2023.
Yeah. Yeah.
I'll see you there. Well,
Yes, sir.
hopefully I'll be there. Yeah. I really
Yep.
appreciate the time, you guys. Paul, it's a
That-
pleasure to meet you.
Same. You're
Yeah.
doing amazing work, man. You really are.
Thank you. Well, we
All right,
Thank you,
appreciate
sir.
it. Y'all take care.
Take care. Have a good week.
Take care. Bye-bye.
Wow.
23.
I know. I was literally thinking at one point, I was doing math in my head. You triple my age, you triple his age, and I'm still 3 years older than that.
Why would you do that calculation?
Only because I don't remember having accomplished that much at 23.
I know. 23. I was thinking, what was I doing at 23? And man, I mean, it is incredible. I mean, he's a natural entrepreneur, you can tell. I mean, it just oozes from him. And he's still got a lot to learn, and I think he's open to a lot of insight. But and again, I think he's right. The demonstration of a visionary with someone who can execute, you bring that partnership together, because it even goes back to kind of what Krishna was talking about earlier, that you can do deep dives into a lot of things. You can think a lot, but you've got to get that out. You got to build partnerships, got to make it happen. So really great.
Yep. Well, you know what? I think it's time for us to head on over to Studio B, which weirdly looks exactly like Studio A here. So we can go meet our guest in Which Way Is Up.
Yes, I think that's fantastic. I can't wait.
So listen, everybody, to continue creating the illusion of us moving over somewhere. We'll see you very soon after the intro.
All right. I'm going to go walk over there right now.
Me too.
Okay. So, Paul, the guest we have coming up, there's certain people in your life, when you meet them, you just know that they're going to play a role in your life, and they're so spectacular, so dynamic in different ways. You try to find ways to fit them in. This is who this person is. This person, I would say, and when he comes on, he'll tell us about it. But over the last, I would say, 40 plus years, he has played huge roles as executive, as a talent manager, as a consultant in music and radio, TV, festivals. He's doing some amazing stuff with Native American casinos right now. Not only that, but he's just won all these awards, and I just have to look at him because it's the list goes on. He's either get this one, top 40 DJ in New York, Florida, and California in a span of 4 years. Like
I know we're going to be, we're going to be talking about that one, I'm sure.
Yeah, and he was either nominated or won awards for Independent Talent Buyer, Polestar Talent Buyer, nomination for an ACM Country Talent Buyer of the Year. Polestar just goes on and on and on. In fact, Polestar said, and I have to read this. He said, this guy is fearless or crazy or maybe a healthy smattering of both. And I think that's a perfect description of him. Let's bring him on. It's Billy Brill. Billy!
Funeral.
Hey, Billy.
Not a funeral. He was so nice.
My family thinks of me as a walking wallet, so any compliments I get is terrific.
Well, we're really thrilled to have you on. I know things are crazy right now, which is kind of some of the stuff that we want to talk about. But I cannot remember. I was trying to think when we actually met and how that happened. But
okay, I was your paper boy, and one year you gave me a tip, and then instead you gave me a transistor radio, and I said, "What the heck was this cheap gift?" And I said, "Someday I'll get back to you." And then you went to work for the Warriors. That's all I can tell you.
I remember I was trying to tell you to please get the newspaper onto the front porch. That's exactly what
those
the
people
conversation.
out there. A newspaper is something they used to read before these things. Okay, before this.
Yeah.
Now you now they throw this on my lawn in the morning.
You might want to, Billy. You might want to also mention what a transistor radio is too.
There we go.
Oh my God, you have one. Holy
Of course I do.
cow! Oh, what? Who makes that one? Is that one work?
I
Does
got
that
this
work?
on Amazon. I don't know who makes it, but it's I love it.
Was that one of your Columbia music record gifts when you bought
I
8 for 1
the other
cent?
day because I was talking about a transistor radio. I used to love to listen to the radio, and the kid said, "What is that?" So I bought them, and I said, "Look, this thing even has a crank on it, so you can crank it up, so you never lose the battery."
You're always prepared.
Wow.
I mean,
That's-
in LA, you never know, right?
Oh, and then I
That
just
power
got this.
grid.
I just got this too. Have you seen the new Razor by Apple?
No,
The new Razor.
You get to shave with it. It's fantastic. It's not on the market yet, but this is going to be good. And this thing, the shaving cream comes out of, and you just do like this, and you're done.
Wow.
Then you show your family. You stream it. It's fantastic.
Does
You
it
are
track
always-
how far
And
you
this
got
is
the
called
hair?
the staple gun for those kids who want to remember that.
Man, you're a thinker. As
He's
seen
a
on
museum
TV.
curator. He's a museum curator, man.
Okay, Billy.
Listen,
Yeah, Paul has a question. He's dying to ask.
I cannot fathom how you pull this one off, to be honest. You win top 40 DJ in California, New York, and what was the other one? Florida, was it?
Florida.
Florida in 4 years in 3 different states. How did
I
you
got
do
fired
that?
a lot. Here's what happened. I was doing the all-night show one night, a little crazy. 75 degrees on the Billy Brill Show. Coming up next. And I said something wrong. And the GM, the program director, comments, "You're gonna be straight. You can't do anything weird." I was mad. I knew I was leaving the radio station anyway. It's about 1 o'clock in the morning, but I knew this guy was listening. I said, "Okay, everybody," and I knew this guy was. I'm gonna jack him crazy. The word for tonight is finger.
All right, well that accounts for 1 state.
Oh, then I was in a town called Watkins Glen, New York.
Oh, I know it.
Upstate New York.
Mhm.
And they were doing this festival, and they said it was the Watkins Glen Summer Jam. And I said to the town, "Bring them in." The concert was bigger than Woodstock.
Yeah.
And I was associated with that, so I was gone. Then the third time, never mind. I've watched where it was crazy. I was fired a lot,
I don't know. Like when you were at MCA and where else? EMI and Interscope. I mean,
I was with Jimmy Iovine at Interscope. Hi, I'm Jimmy. I was Jimmy Iovine at Interscope. I was at MCA. I was at EMI, which I blew up a few companies.
I was gonna say I can't imagine. Like like the example you just
How do you
gave,
think they felt?
Right.
Who's this guy? That's the CVP. What the hell did we do? Fuck. This guy's our executive?
Yeah.
Who hired this schmuck? Get him out of here. I don't like him rolling the ashtrays during the meetings. Get him out of here. I thought that was funny, you know. The first time I went to a corporate meeting, it was MCA and they're straight at Steinberg and stuff.
That's what I mean. Yeah.
Yeah. And I took an ashtray and I rolled it down the conference room and they were
This is going to be exceptionally amazing or exceptionally terrible.
This guy's either a genius or get him the doodles out of here. That's what
right. Exactly. But you know, I think
and actually it's interesting. I was working in radio. Cool story. And I wanted to get a job at a music company. So Polydor Records at the time. And do you remember they used to have shirts? We used to at the malls, we'd put your name on them and stuff.
Sure. Yeah, print them.
It was in Sacramento at the Arden Fair Mall. So I wrote it. I did a T-shirt that said MGM Records needs Billy Brill. And at the time, that was a big deal. So I sent it to my boss, Arnie Geller, and they get the job. So they fly me to New York, and I said, this is cool. I'm going to New York, and they fly me to New York, and I don't have a dime in my name. I'm staying with a Walmart credit card around the corner in a junky place. And then they say, all right, man, we're going to give you, you're going to go out some artists. I'm going, oh, this is fantastic. They send me to Boston with Donnie and Marie. I'm going, I'm done. I can't stand it. But they were nice kids. They were very, very nice. So that's how I started my record career.
Wow.
Like one time there was this disc jockey in Memphis named Rick Dees.
Oh.
Rick Dees.
Yeah.
Wow.
And he had this record.
Rick
It was the number one record called Disco Duck.
Mm-hmm.
You remember it?
Yeah,
Yeah, of course.
sure.
You couldn't name it if I gave you $100. Come on.
Rick Dees.
Yeah, so
Oh, couldn't
Oh,
sing it.
yeah.
we did the midnight special, and Dees at the time was a disc jockey, and the guy that did the duck voice worked for 7-Eleven. So he wanted to fly the 7-Eleven guy to do the quack quack. It's a job. So the producer of Midnight Special, Bert Sugarman, said,
Yeah.
"For every duck, there's a quack," and that was the end of Rick Dees' singing career. But it was great. I mean, it was a number one record.
Yeah.
And I took it to the urban station, K-Day, and I walked in and they said, "What do you got?" I said, "I got this record called Disco Duck." No one ever heard a record with a guy singing quack, 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 a quacking record. So they all it was the first pop record to ever go on urban radio because it was so crazy, Disco Duck. So, and then that year there was another guy, nutty guy named C.W. McCall. He decides to do a record called Convoy. He does. Yeah. Do you remember the record Convoy?
Oh yeah, we got a break big convoy. Oh yeah, probably remember it.
I take him to the awards and he loses to William Nelson. He says, "I'm done. I'm out of the business." I'm saying, what the hell is this guy going to do? He's like 35. I don't hear from him for about 10, 15 years. He moves to Omaha, Nebraska. And I said, "What are you doing?" Once in a while, he says, "I'm putting together this like instrumental group that's going to be big during the holidays." Yeah, sure. Right? He put together a band called Mannheim Steamroller.
Really?
Oh,
E.W. McCall is a guy named Chips, and it's Mannheim Steamroller. So I think that's one of the greatest show business comebacks ever.
Now
wow,
that's
50
new.
years and then coming
And
back.
that tours all the time.
So he went from Convoy to Mannheim Steamroller.
Yeah, he moved back to Omaha, Nebraska. That was his friend. He did an advertising agency, and he was really smart. And he came up with it, which I love. I love that idea.
That's amazing.
Yeah.
It's not easy to do now, I would assume. It's a lot harder to put that together.
The greatest comebacks I've seen in music was Frankie Valli had this record called "Oh What a Night," late September down in '63, that they released it twice. And he had a great comeback. And then he had another great comeback when he did the title song for Grease. Grease is the word. So Frankie's had some great comebacks.
Yeah.
And then another comeback, which he makes a lot of money from, the Broadway, what's the name? About the movie, the Broadway show about the Four Seasons, and Jersey Boys. And Frankie had 4 comebacks. He's had more comebacks than Nixon. I mean,
much better ending.
I've seen people come back. I saw Santana come back from Black Magic Woman to smooth. So people come back in the industry, but I think radio's different now. It's all about streaming and YouTube and all this. So I think kids today, teenagers aren't listening to the radio. You know, I grew up in New York and went on WMCA radio. We all had to stay careful. Where did you grow up, Kenny?
San Diego.
All right, Sandy, you had KCBQ was the big top 40.
KCBQ was our station. Yeah.
Yeah, and Paul, where did you grow up?
On Long Island in East Meadow.
Okay, so WABC was your big station, and the other station was WMCA, and then the cool station was WNEW.
Yeah.
Scott Mooney.
W.
First time I met Scott Mooney.
W.
He was Scott Mooney, WNEW FM.
He was amazing, though.
Great guy. I go up there the first day as a record promo guy. Sits in my office, and he has this voice because I was loving this guy. How you doing, Billy? Hi, Mr. Beauty. Sit down. You want a drink? Give me a drink. All right. Yeah, you look like a nice Jewish boy. Take a drink. Okay, Mr. Muni. I mean, this guy is the voice of God.
Yeah.
What do you got to play? It's all shit. Get out of here. That was the first time I met Scott Muni. But he had such a great voice. It was like Kenny. It was like the cool station to listen to if you were in Long Island in New York.
Everyone loved him. Oh my God.
Him. And then if you were into top 40, the guy to listen to was the name guy Cousin Brucey. They went, Cousin Brucey. So one day, 1968, I'm at they called them the pep rallies for the jocks, which I wasn't athletic, obviously. So I'm sitting there, and he comes in, and he's a beautiful, beautiful zebra jacket. Hi, cousins. Let's talk about the class president. Blah blah blah. Let's talk about this guy, and let's talk about the class clown. Now I'm sitting next to a girl. She's about a 12, and I'm about a 3, but I'm hoping. Like any normal guy, I'm going to beg at high school, right? And she goes, and cousins, here's our class clown, Billy Brill. But that was why, disc jockeys in those days were legends, and people loved today.
They were, Now,
and they were personalities. Today, it's a different world. I mean, in Los Angeles, we have Kiss FM, but I couldn't name a lot of disc jockeys. I mean, I listen to Howard Stern in the morning because I think he's smart. But Kenny, can you name a disc jockey in San Francisco on KFOC?
No.
Or
I mean, I
Paul,
would
could
just
you name a station in Virginia Beach? You listen, and that's the thing.
No.
So the kids are growing up. They're just doing YouTube, which is great, and
Spotify. I mean, they're
Spotify,
like my kids.
Listen, I love that Spotify. Now they even make custom, playlists for you, and you get a chance for the new. Can you imagine if we were growing up and we had a chance to get all the new music for like $12?
Yeah.
But I do miss buying records. You know what I mean? There was nothing like buying. What was the first record you guys bought? What was the first
ever?
I remember. So I joined the Columbia. When I was really little. That you get 6 for 1 cent and all that. Yeah. So I think some of the first albums were Journey, and also Foghat actually was one of the first ones I remember. And I remember just as a young kid looking at the cover art, reading the lyrics, and just listening to music over. In fact, I remember, as I'm recalling this right now, I pretended like I was a DJ. Like I was like, and now coming up is Journey, Escape, That's how much like DJs were part of your life. And now, of course,
it was great. I mean, Paul, what was the first record you ever bought?
I bought a bunch at the same time. I remember these were albums. I had a few, what do you call it? 33s or 45s or whatever they were, the little singles records. But I was immersed in, I got into the music during the early and mid 60s. So really into it. And so I bought like Jimi Hendrix and people I had the original Jimi Hendrix albums and the Beatles, of course, all the names at the time. But we also had things like Tambourine Man and by the Byrds and, stuff like that. And we had Byrds on singing. Yeah. I used to love them. Yeah. Well, you know what? Like what Kenny was just saying, my brother and I used to take an 8-reel, tape deck, right?
It's called a tape recorder for those kids that don't remember.
No, this was like the one with the 2 reels, and you'd run that one. and we would literally record
tell you
our
what
own cousin.
they do
Well,
for the-
ours was the cousin Brucey. He was our hero. He was our real hero. Was cousin Brucey. We loved him, and so we would be cousin Paulie and cousin Bobby, and we would just do this show, and we recorded like every 3 weeks on the reel-to-reel tape deck. We loved it, man. I mean, I went to college to be a broadcaster, right? But in sports, though, in particular.
I went to college. I got a degree, the easiest degree. It was called, well, it's harder. It was called communication arts. And in my entire career,
that's not easy. Not Northwestern
is
is
talking about. It was the New York Institute of Technology. I was a fish out of water there. I had no idea what I was doing there. In my entire career.
Your entire career seems like you step into places where you're a fish out of water and you swim. Like, what about this story about how you got your first job and that you were or I think it was your first job where you became DJ, but then you were responsible for an event, right?
All sorts of stuff. I mean, remember I was out of work from the record business, and I was in Dupar's, which was a great little restaurant in the valley. Perfect, delicious pies. Paul will be sending everyone pies at the end of this broadcast. Just send the name address. And I saw this lady, and I said, "What do you do?" She says, "I'm a producer for PM Magazine," and I lied. I said, "I've been on TV. I can do a show." She said, "Sure. What do you want to do?" I said, "Send the camera crew." She takes me up if I have the balls to say that. And the first show I did, I said, "I'm going to review albums in the bathtub." So they sent the crew. Swear to God. It's on YouTube. And I put bubbles, and I have 2 albums under it. And I start pulling the albums down in the tub and reviewing. And I got a job on TV for about a year and a half just because I was out of work. She said, "What do you do TV?" I said, "I'm fantastic at TV. Never doing anything except watching it."
What album did you review from the bathtub, by the way? Do you remember?
I think I did Kim Carnes and Jefferson Starship,
Wow. Kim Carnes' name just came up yesterday for something. I don't remember what, though.
Betty Davis Eyes.
Yeah. Oh, I know what it was. I was literally you. I was watching you. That's what it was.
Yeah. The other first job I had was I was working in college. I had a great job. I was working as a store announcer at TSS. The store announcer goes, "On sale shoppers right now, the party popcorn is normally $9.95, now $6.95 with quality first and savings always." So then I would get a little bored, I'd say, "Good evening, folks. How you doing? Good to be here, Billy Brill." Which, for a store announcer, I'm surprised I didn't get pounced the first night. And I get a call from a guy named Joe Franklin. Joe Franklin had a TV show.
Really? That Joe Franklin?
Yeah.
Damn.
And he says, "I heard you're very funny. Come on my TV show."
Whoa.
The Joe Franklin? Yeah. Okay. Be here. Here's Channel 9. New. So I go on this show, and it was me, Freddie Prinze Jr., Jimmy Walker, and 3 of us. I still don't know why. I'm a kid in college working as a store announcer. And he puts me on, and he says, "You seem like a funny guy." I'm a store announcer. But, Freddie Prinze later on went from a poor comedian. I think he went out to California to do Chico and the Man.
Yeah.
And Jimmy Walker was working as an engineer at WMCA Radio, and he went on to do Good Times.
Yeah.
Huge. I went around schlepping as a DJ, but those guys made it big in TV, man. So I've been very grateful to, I just believe if you have that hustle, that drive, no matter what your field is, no matter who you do it, and you can't teach that. That's the most important thing. Paul, you know that, Kenny. It's the drive to be successful in any business. I don't care what you're doing. I think there's, I think if you can learn to hustle and learn to just have a good work ethic, you can be successful. Look at the Giants.
2-0.
Or even the Warriors, Kenny. For many years, they were a joke. For many years, they were a joke. They got some new owners and new membership, and they became something.
In fact, in so many years, the marketing slogan was, it's a good time out. Like we're probably not going to play very well, but you'll still have fun. Maybe you'll watch a team. Maybe you'll come to a night that has a good team playing. So at least you
Yeah,
can
they were
see some good
they were known as the Clippers of San Francisco.
versus San Francisco. And now look, right? No,
You know, I've been grateful. I'm still grateful. You know, I do a lot of things right now, and I'm still every day. I don't have entitlement. I just want to. I guess I just want to do good things for the people that hire me or work for myself. You know.
well, what are you doing right now, Billy?
Right now, I'm working with a lot of Native American casinos and booking a lot of great shows. I'm working in Palm Springs with the Agua Caliente Casino, and we just put on sale Harry Connick Jr., which is a fantastic show.
Yeah.
We have Adam Lampert, and last night we had Ken Young with special guest
Oh yeah,
Joe McHale.
yeah.
And in Sacramento, we have a lot of shows. We're gonna build the first indoor theater, beautiful theater, $150 million theater in 25 years in the Bay Area. Nothing's been built like that. And then I'm lucky enough to work with casinos in Buffalo and Mississippi. So, you know,
You
I'm
can help everyone understand the casino entertainment space has changed so dramatically from
Yeah.
when like I was growing up, where it was, maybe what I don't know, like in a parking lot, right? And they'd set things up and whatever. Now they're top, they're significant draws on entertainment. The amount of money that's moving
Yeah.
through there is
They've been-
unreal.
for a long time, you know, in any business, it's known as a loss leader. You know, they have that,
Yeah, right.
you know, their target.
Yeah.
My Mercedes water, twice as expensive. But I'm going to go back to the Honda water. Or I go to Palm Springs, or people that came to water. It's cheaper.
Not keen.
But, you know, it was just a loss leader. Now, they want it as an amenity, you know, in Sacramento, Palm Springs, Foxwoods, all over it's an amenity. It's a big, big, big business.
Yep.
And we have to take care of customers. People are getting more sophisticated all the time, and the
Yeah.
entertainment has to be more sophisticated, unlike myself.
You're
Well,
doing good.
Yeah, you're doing great. I mean,
Spit it
you've
out,
been doing
Ken.
this 40 plus years, right? Like, or whatever. I mean, you've seen
You know,
so
I'll
much.
tell you the truth. I don't count. I never want to be that guy saying, "Hey, I never bring up the past, you know, unless someone asks, because I don't want to talk about it. I say I'm here. I'm right here in the now. You want me? I'm good. Not goodbye.
So,
You know,
so what do we
I
have?
hate
Look,
when people look at the past. I invented the donut with Paul. You know,
I remember when you and I did that, actually.
I know.
yeah, that did change things.
Yes,
Well,
it
so
did.
what does the future look like? I mean, if you look at live entertainment now, like,
I look at it getting better and better. And as the economy goes up and down, you'll notice entertainment always does well in a bad economy.
Yeah.
Why? Because people want to be entertained. People
Yeah.
want to have fun.
yeah,
Let me ask you a question sort of related to that,
Acts,
because
look at history. The
Yeah.
biggest acts.
you're really big on talent acquisition. I noticed there's a lot of what you were doing at times, a lot of it really, and really
I still
done
do.
well in that area. But one of the things that I'm noticing, and you know, there are a lot of people who, let's say, if it weren't for the fact that we have, connectivity out there now, would never have been seen or heard. You know, we can go back to, depending on, I'm not a big fan, but go back to Justin Bieber and people like that who were kind of early on found because somebody saw them on YouTube or whatever. Now you have TikTok, and you're seeing TikTok people kind of spilling over into America's Got Talent, and things like that are beginning to happen. So they started, and the interesting thing to me, and I always find this fascinating, is all of the people who are sort of, let's call it web famous, really want to be more traditionally famous.
Yeah.
Then that's the way it used to be with another. I was once talking to this big social media superstar, and I said, what are you aspiring to do? He said, write a book. Right. And I said, why do you want to write a book? I said, you've got millions of fans, you got this and that. He said, because it's a physical book, and he sees it as, that as validation.
Yeah.
Right.
Listen,
So
yeah, it's like people are discovered entertainment differently, but as we get older, I mean, how did you hear about Jimi Hendrix the first time, Paul?
That's a good question. I don't remember.
What about
Well,
you?
I saw him. I saw him actually at Woodstock. So I guess that was probably that's the first time I heard him though. I'd heard of him by that time, and it was probably by watching him on. Well, no, he wasn't making a lot of TV appearances, so I don't remember how I heard him. I know how I saw the Beatles the first time because of Ed Sullivan and everything else, but I don't remember Jimi Hendrix. It's funny you said that.
It's interesting because you talk to people that, how did you hear about your new music? A lot of times it'll be for Spotify, a lot of times YouTube.
Or the radio.
Radio.
You hear them on the radio.
Still out there. Radio.
Yeah.
Still people listen to new music on the radio. It's just, no matter what the city is, people are just exploring new music. And look at all the bands that are in, these guys are in the 70s now that are really having a renaissance. The Beach Boys.
Yeah.
I mean, guys that, it's just amazing the way people are rediscovering the Beatles. I'm lucky enough to do a bunch of Ringo shows, and young kids always come to these Ringo shows,
Yeah.
I mean,
To your point, one of the things I was looking at, and when you mentioned the Midnight Special, I remember I used to, when I was in college, I was at Northwestern, and Chicago had, carried the Midnight Special, and I would listen, right? And this is not a musical group, but the Firesign Theater is who I became fell in love with because of that.
And I remember Wolfman Jack. I never heard of Wolfman Jack.
Yeah, Wolfman Jack.
Wolfman Jack. Yeah.
Hey, Wolfman Jack, how you doing, my friends?
That's actually a good imitation.
You remember? Then they put him in the movie American Graffiti. Remember that? They had Wolfman in the little radio station in Modesto for the first one. Coppola put him in there. Remember that?
Yeah, I do.
Coppola was a fan of that whole thing, and Coppola put Wolfman Jack in that movie, which was great.
I mean, that's the thing. A lot of those people, from the Firesign Theater standpoint, I've always been of the mind that people don't even realize the impact they had on comedy going forward. It was huge, absolutely huge.
Yeah, those were great. I mean, a lot of those people just came out and were just,
and they just
stars.
made their
stars.
Yeah. I remember seeing Joe Coy. I know you're really have a great deal of responsibility for the success of Joe Coy.
Part of a team, not just me.
As all humble people say. I remember seeing him before he was maybe he filled it was either at Cobb's in San Francisco, Cobb's Comedy, or
was huge. Yeah.
And he was the funniest person that I had ever seen, but no one, very few people have heard of him, and I know now he's got a book out, right? And now he's
okay. This is a true story. About a year and a half ago, his special was on, I guess it's Netflix, and Steven Spielberg saw the special. So Steven Spielberg calls his office and says, "Hey, I'd like to meet Joe Coy."
Oh my
He
God!
goes in there with a bunch of executives, and they all say, "Steven loves you. Steven loves you." And Joe Coy's freaking out. Steven Spielberg loves me. And by the end of the meeting, he got a movie with Steven Spielberg.
Wow.
Steven Spielberg took a chance. It's called Easter Sunday. It came out and left quickly. But the point is, Steven Spielberg loved his movie. And
was the movie about his life, or?
Yeah, it was about his family. Yeah, it's called Easter Sunday. It'll probably be on cable by the time the show's over. But I saw Elvis on the HBO, right?
Oh, I didn't watch that yet. I don't know if I can do it.
It was good.
It is all right.
He got a choice. The idea of a Filipino comedian in a mainstream. He's fantastic. And
I know
comedy's changing today. I love where comedy's going. I love
me too.
It's all good.
There we go.
That's
Easy
right.
Sunday.
Look at that. I wish I could my BlackBerry, but no one can help me here. Paul, you got connections.
No, I do, but unfortunately, they go here.
I was a big BlackBerry fan. Billy, you know how much I was a BlackBerry fan?
I didn't want to leave. I went to the AT&T
Me either.
store and I begged him. I said, "Please, I'll give you $100 on the side. Can I do BlackBerry?" "Oh no, we got the Samsung." "I don't want a TV. I want a phone." Meanwhile, I had 3 iPads as gifts. Didn't even take them out of the drawer yet. "Well, you can work it like an iPad. Come over to my house. It's in my drawer." I did not want
My
this-
underwear works like an iPad in that case.
Yeah, I mean, you know, and they're telling me this and that, and the family saying, "Oh, you got to get a new one," and then they got rid of my button. They got rid of my. Where the hell did the button go? I got
Okay.
used to the button. They got rid of the button. Then they got rid of the plug. I had the same plug for years at every good gas station. Now they got rid of the plug. These Apple people are geniuses.
Okay, look at this. Look at this, Billy. I like the BlackBerry so much. I bought this keyboard that you could put on the iPhone that would simulate a BlackBerry keyboard. And not only did I buy one, I bought two in case one broke because I thought they weren't going to
That sounds like fun. I mean, but this BlackBerry thing, and these Apple people are crazy. I'm going to pay $1,000 for that? Are you out of your mind?
Yeah, well, a lot of people are.
They're doing okay. Their
Yeah,
market
yeah.
cap.
Well, you need the Apple 18 or 19. Well, what does it do? It has a better camera. I'm not a photographer.
Well,
It's
that's
all
the
on
thing.
Phone. I don't need pictures.
I think I buy it for the camera now. Right? I don't
Billy.
think I buy it for that.
Start dating again, I'll get a camera.
There you go.
I'm drinking this Blackened in honor of you because Blackened is Metallica's whiskey.
I'm drinking this.
That's not an Kenny. I don't think that's in honor of you, Kenny.
The
though.
fact that that was in arm's reach, the fact that that was in arm's reach is more disconcerting.
So listen, I got one final question for you. All right, and this. So we've been talking about
What is this,
everything. pretty much.
Passover?
Well, we'll get it. That's right.
And
Minus
Shevitz.
9. Oh, we can do the 4 right now. That's right. We'll do all 4. I'm sure the people who are in the audience will love that. Right. So we'll invite them over.
Look at this guy.
We'll invite them over. Right. We'll invite them
Look
over.
at
That's
this
all.
guy. We're
We'll
supposed to
invite
be a
them
quick
over.
show. This guy's a
This
moron.
seriously
Get him
is
out.
like
What I
favorite-
loved about Passover was chorosis. That's it. Right.
Yeah.
Other than that.
This is
I used to
my
love
Passover
eating
dinner
that.
right here.
Yeah. So
I used to call myself
where's
an
all this
unleavened
going to
Jew.
go? All right. So you have radio, you have music, you have pretty much everything really when it comes to entertainment. We kind of threw around all the places it's kind of evolving to. 5 years from now, where is all this?
Streaming, and streaming.
Yeah.
No more cable.
Does radio even exist?
Radios. There'll be a
Oh,
certain
yeah.
amount of radio because people want to listen to sports and news.
Sirius
always do
XM
that.
too.
What?
Sirius XM radio exists, and they're doing pretty well.
Yeah, love Sirius XM.
I do too.
Oh. That's
Um,
interesting.
So I think everything it'll be streaming. I think the cable companies, people are saying, wait a minute, instead of $300 a month, I can just get cable and stream on Roku or Apple. I mean, Apple figured it out. Roku figured it out. Let's stream. Quick story. Years ago, I met Dick Clark, and he told the story. He goes to a bunch of executives in New York to talk about cable. And he says, we have this new thing, and it's a few $100, and you're going to put a wire in the back of your TV. And the executive said to Dick Clark, that'll never work. TV's free. Who's going to pay for a little wire in the back of his TV? And they laughed at him, and it turned out to be cable. So Dick Clark was ahead of everything. But listen, makes sense. You got a big antenna in your house, and TV's free. Who's going to pay for a little wire? And now they're going, I don't need that cable. All I can do is stream. Man, wait a minute. I'm not paying for a cable box for $13 a month. Wait a minute. $200 a month where I can stream and I can pick what I want. HBO, Showtime, this one.
Yeah.
And now they're getting news and they're free cable. There's one called Pluto that's fantastic.
Yeah.
Pluto has everything, and Tubi has stuff, and there's even a Roku channel. Why do I need cable?
Mm-hmm.
So I think it's going to go streaming. I think.
I totally agree with you. And the other side of it is, it goes to your other point. People are listening to radio and still even subscribe to like a direct TV or something like that, which is satellite, because it has the sports packages and they're about to go away. Right. So
I last Thursday, I turned on Prime TV to see the Charger game, which was, But the point is, and I was disappointed. I'll tell you why. I remember the first time we heard FM radio was kind of cool, and the first time we did cable was good. I'm thinking, here's a football game on prime TV. It's going to be different. The coverage will be better. The announcer could say, screw it. I'm looking for something different on prime time for my coverage of football, right? That's the expectation, right?
Yep.
It was like any other game, but I think the first person that does sports on a creative, like, holy fuck, or have a real fan.
Yeah.
I think Amazon blew it in the sense that they're smart. God, I don't want you to cancel my subscription, guys, but I think Amazon, free. I think Amazon blew it by the Brill, WA Brill AOL, just in case that anybody's watching, which God knows you're not. But I think that that football broadcast should have been done in creative. I mean, and maybe done without commercials or something. The feds. There should have been something different. That's just my opinion, Well,
the most popular single innovation in football last year and running now was Manningcast, right, with Eli and Peyton. Because that thing went first week, no one even heard of it. About 800,000 people watched. When people saw it, the next week it was like 4 million. And, it just kept skyrocketing. And now you see imitators everywhere, of course, but, not working as well. But the two Mannings doing their stuff now, I mean, that's how I watch Monday Night Football. I don't watch regular Monday Night Football. I watch Eli and Peyton. I watch Eli basically going after Peyton's forehead, right?
I mean, it's great, but that's my point. When they stream sports, they have to be a little more creative. They're not creative.
I agree with you.
And just real quickly, what about live entertainment? Like you exist in the world of live entertainment, right? That's what. Is that going to continue? Are we going to still see that grow? Are people coming back after the pandemic?
Coming back big time. I know
they are, right?
Festivals have had amazing results. Stagecoach was sold out. Coachella was sold out. DWP just did a show called Bourbon and Beyond last night in Louisville, Kentucky, and they had 40,000 people there last night.
Yeah, that's incredible.
So people are always going to have, people are always going to want to see live music. And whatever's going to go on with the economy, and I feel like CNBC, but whatever, people will still go to concerts and people will still listen to music, and that, because that takes us away for those 2 hours, no matter what's going on.
Yeah.
And if you'll notice, that's why Netflix was really successful, was during COVID. There are people, I didn't know what the hell Ozarks was, but that's why during COVID, cable, this is when streaming and Netflix became stars.
Yeah.
Because they wanted to be entertained. Now that people are going back, but they're pulling, Netflix I heard is going to start doing commercials.
Well, yeah.
Well, that was, that's why, like at the Warriors games, I mean, we were good, but the concept was, when I built that experience with Peter, is just to give people an escape for 3 hours. So they do not have to get their bills. They don't have to think about life. They don't have to think about anything. And I'll tell you what, when we won, it was hard to get people out of that building, because who would want to leave, right?
Yeah,
I mean, you're in this wonderful womb of warmth and second families and winning.
Happiness and excitement. Yep.
Happiness.
That's what I want with entertainment, and it's going to continue. People will always want to laugh. People will always want to have music. And whether you're in Virginia, San Francisco, no matter where you are in the world, live entertainment's going to happen. It's not going to stop. It's going to get bigger. And who knows where the economy's going. I don't even know where I'm going after this. But I can tell you, as long as people can laugh and listen to music, life is good.
Amen, brother. Okay, we got one final question for you. All right.
What
is your favorite spirit of choice?
Don't bring Miralax.
What is your favorite alcoholic spirit of choice?
It's called Brute.
Brute shaving cream.
What?
To his point, there is alcohol.
No, I'll tell you why. Because you only smell good, and so does your breath.
Okay, you know what? There's literally no answer to that.
None. The amount
they pull you over. Hey, you smell like Brute. Hey, take some, officer. Oh,
the amount of things that you have within arm's reach on your desk is
I know.
fascinating.
I actually
Oh,
realized
I
your
have no
other
idea.
position is museum curator. Right? You're
I
clearly
even
a
have
museum curator.
Laker pencil cups, you name it. I got it.
Lakers, though. It's all right. We'll let that roll. We'll let
I'll
that
get-
slide.
Hey,
Hey,
Russell Westbrook's on the phone. No.
you know what, Billy? Thank you very much. We've taken too much of your time already, and we're just so thrilled.
No, I
to
bought the
have
watch
you.
on time. It's good.
Okay.
Would you be willing to come back for a second round at some point
Yeah.
in the not too distant future?
How about tomorrow? I'm free.
I'll be on my way to San Francisco, so no,
We'll,
can't do it.
I do look forward to seeing you and getting a hug from you in first part of October. I know you got some amazing things happening. We're so excited to hear.
I got some. Yeah, it's pretty cool.
Yeah, we can't wait to hear. So, congratulations on all your success.
Thank you, Paul
incredible.
Greenberg. Thank you.
You are
guys
the-
have the best day, and life is good. And if you're
You
listening
are
to
an
this channel,
amazing
keep
man.
watching. It's going to get better and better. Turn off NBC, CBS. Get rid of your cable. Just watch this, folks.
You got it, sir.
All right,
You're
Billy
the best.
Brill.
Doing
Love
too many
you.
You're
wrestling
awesome.
promos. And if you listen to me, no.
All right. You
All right,
take care,
Billy.
Billy. It's
Take
wonderful
care.
to have you. Okay.
Bye.
Bye-bye.
So he was amazing. He was absolutely amazing. I
You
love that
feel
guy.
his energy, like you feel his
Yeah.
energy just come through you. I mean, his what he has experienced in this life and what he's created, and literally because he's been working with promoters, the other lives that he has and experiences that he has created through his passion and energy. It's just incredible. It's really, really spectacular, and you can tell he's a heart-centered person.
Yeah.
You know,
I look.
a lot of
I never
this-
met him.
all this stuff, but he's a
Never
good
met
guy.
him till today, but I'm not joking. I totally fell in love with him.
Yeah.
Right? The guy's absolutely astonishing to me, and just a great person. Period.
A really great person, and we just heard a subset, like your thing about having him back. I think is a good idea. We just heard a small subset of the stories. I mean, if you look on his YouTube channel and you see the people he's interviewed and what he's done, it's really impressive, and it's really wonderful to have people like that in this world. You know,
Amen.
just that kind of energy and that kind of spirit. Man, he is a hard worker. You know, he makes these jokes, but boy, I don't think there's a harder working person in entertainment. He is helping people. He's creating opportunities, and he's teamed up with Danny Wimmer Productions right now. They bought his Billy's company, and Danny Wimmer is the one doing the bourbon. All the some of the biggest festivals in the world, and they're lucky to have him. Yeah, he's really great.
Hey, I guess that's it.
Yeah, I think so. It went so quickly. It's such a wonderful time. I mean, I think we should thank our guests, huh, Paul? Like Krishna Raja, who's an incredible CEO and founder of Supportlogic. Clay Canning, of course. Again, B2C, our CEO, founder of Screenskinz. And, of course, the bigger-than-life Billy Brill, boy from the Bronx.
I love him.
Incredible music industry legend. Just really an incredible group. And, of course, I want to thank, and it's incredible spending time with my co-host, Paul Greenberg.
Right back at you, man.
All right. Take us out, Paul.
Engaged with Paul and Kenny, a PPN digital broadcast.